Hi there, dear friends of mystery. As you know, shadows operate in different ways. But are they in our favor or against? I'm Mr. S, and today I will tell you a story, but it is not a fairy tale. From a young age, Jamie had been a passionate runner. At 26, he was a dedicated athlete known for his determination and endurance. Every morning, without fail, he ran through the park near his house, enjoying the fresh air and the sense of freedom that exercise provided. Running was Jamie's way to clear his mind, relieve stress, and stay in top shape for the competitions he regularly participated in. One of those mornings, while running his usual route, Jamie noticed a girl sitting on a bench reading a book. It was hard not to notice her presence. Her calm aura and delicate appearance stood out in the bustling park. She wore a simple white dress, and her brown hair fluttered slightly in the morning breeze. As he passed by her, their eyes briefly met, and Jamie felt a strange connection, something that made him want to know her. Days later, he mustered up the courage to approach her. She introduced herself as Helen, a sweet, polite, and slightly shy girl. Soon, they started meeting regularly in the park, developing a friendship that quickly grew deeper. Helen was gentle and reserved, but there was something in her eyes that intrigued Jamie. Their conversations were relaxed, often revolving around common interests like books, movies, and hobbies. Jamie found comfort in Helen's company, someone with whom he could unwind after his grueling training sessions. One morning, while chatting on their usual bench, Helen asked him a surprising question.
Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis, Jamie?
He shook his head, curious about the turn in the conversation. Helen explained that it was a terrifying experience where one wakes up but is unable to move, often feeling a menacing presence. The way Helen described the experience, with a mix of fear and fascination, left Jamie both intrigued and uneasy. That night, Jamie went to bed early, exhausted from his training routine. However, something strange happened. In the middle of the night, he suddenly woke up feeling an overwhelming pressure on his chest. He couldn't move. His body was completely paralyzed. Only his eyes could dart around the room in a frantic panic. In the corner, a dark, amorphous figure loomed over him, staring with intense red eyes. The terror he felt was indescribable. He tried to scream, but no sound came out of his throat. After what felt like an eternity, the figure vanished, and Jamie regained control of his body. He sat up in bed, gasping and drenched in sweat. The experience had been surreal that his body still trembled and his heart raced. It was the first time he had experienced something like this, and it left him shaken to his core. The next day, he tried to brush it off as a particularly vivid nightmare, but the experience repeated night after night. Each time he closed his eyes, he dreaded encountering that terrifying presence again. His lack of sleep began to take a toll on him. During the day, he was constantly exhausted, unable to focus. His training sessions became grueling, his legs feeling heavy, and his mind foggy from fatigue. His performance in training sessions dropped significantly, and his coach, concerned, called him in several times to discuss his declining performance. One afternoon, after an especially tough training session, Jamie found himself sitting alone in the locker room, his head in his hands. His coach approached and put a hand on his shoulder.
Jamie, I know something is going on with you. Your performance has plummeted. You need to rest and take care of yourself.
Jamie nodded, but he didn't know how to explain what he was going through. He wanted to talk to Helen about what was happening, thinking she might understand and possibly help him. However, Helen stopped showing up at the park, Jamie tried to contact her by all means possible, but it was as if she had vanished into thin air. The lack of sleep and Helen's absence plunged him into deep despair. One night, during another terrifying sleep paralysis episode, the dark figure reappeared. This time, it came closer than ever, whispering incomprehensible words in his ear. Jamie, paralyzed with fear, felt like his mind was on the verge of collapse. Just when he thought he couldn't take it anymore, the figure began to retreat. Jamie felt a momentary relief, but then he saw something that left him frozen with terror. In the dim light, Helen's face appeared before him. Her eyes, usually sweet and warm, were filled with a chilling coldness.
No, it's not enough yet,
she murmured, her voice echoing in Jamie's mind. Before he could process what he was seeing, Helen and the figure disappeared, leaving him alone in the darkness. Jamie woke up with a jolt, gasping and trembling. The experience had been so real that he couldn't dismiss it as a mere hallucination. The figure, the paralysis, and now Helen, all seemed connected in a way he couldn't comprehend. Why had Helen spoken to him about sleep paralysis? And why had she disappeared just when his experiences began? Since that night, Jamie has not slept peacefully again. Every time he closes his eyes, he fears the return of the figure in Helen's face, haunting him in the darkness. His life has become a constant vigil, trapped between sleep and wakefulness. Without finding rest, his morning runs, once his escape and joy, now feel like an exhausting obligation, a constant reminder of the presence that torments him. And so every night, Jamie wonders if he will ever find peace, or if he is destined to be a prisoner of the night forever. Will Helen return with more answers or only more questions? Will Jamie free himself from this terrifying experience, or will he be trapped in an endless cycle of fear and despair? These are questions for another video. Bye. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Write if you felt identified with this story. And remember, next time you feel a chill in the night, it might be a whisper from the darkness. Until we meet again in the shadows, stay curious, stay safe, stay subscribed.
Goodbye.